Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It is the club call. Apologies for being slightly late tonight. We had a guest in the studio we were doing a show with, and it ran over, and I apologise for that, because I know you good people will have been waiting for us to come on air, because why wouldn't you? Let's get it right. It is the club call. It's an opportunity for you to give us a call about anything you want, whether it is MSP, potential investments in the football club, whether it is to do with Ivan Toney playing on Saturday when really he shouldn't be playing on Saturday. Let's get it right. Whether it's,
or should he be?
Whether it's
there's no issue.
The reported interest in Shea Everton Adams, or just the fact that Saturday's game is huge. Let us know. Give us a call. Because who else are you going to call? So if you're on Toffee TV Premier, the link is at the top. Just click that link, have a set of headphones in, and you will be put through straight through to the studio where Mathew with 1T will be waiting to take your call.
Fair enough.
I'm just preparing myself for life on QVC.
Fair enough. Do you have anyone on there now? So you've got a chance.
Thanks, Faz. Yeah. Just waiting for them.
You might just get too angry on QVC.
Why would I get angry? Why are you not buying this?
Exactly, you know.
You got 3 installments.
You know for a fact.
I went all that. I went on it there for a minute.
I don't know what that was about. You
can buy it in 3 installments.
Goes quick as well. You've got them in your ear going, we've only got a minute left. We've only got a minute left.
We've only got a minute left to get to the chopper.
What? Why? Why though? Why?
I just wanted, because I knew Ned would do it, so I jumped in first. Right, we've got someone online straight away. It is Astro. And
yo.
Astronomical is on the line. How are you?
Astronomical? It's just Astro.
He is astronomical.
Astronomically,
man. Mr. Astronomical. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How you guys doing?
Okay. All good. All good.
Yeah,
all the better for speaking to you.
Oh, agreed. Likewise. Listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm glad my little loaded grenade of a question yesterday provoked such an interesting diatribe on the Tuesday topic.
An hour of Tuesday topic, which we never normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took a bit of stick for that, you know.
Oh,
people are,
okay.
like you do.
Well,
you do. No, I just want to kind of make something clear, right? Like that was a loaded question to provoke a conversation, and I have absolutely no doubt that the Goodison faithful are going to turn up and do exactly what they have to do to kind of keep us on an even keel and above board. I just kind of feel like, you know, we're at danger stations now. We're at panic stations, and if you got 5 chances to go in and blow the roof off that place, then you got to take all 5 chances. I mean, I know it's not a thing, right? You don't yell for 90 minutes at a football match.
Yeah.
But this may be the exception. We just might have to be verbally unruly for the opposition for a whole 90 minutes. And I think that's it. I mean, I honestly think that's where we are right now. But it's tiring though, isn't it, guys? Aren't you guys just worn out?
I'll be honest, I'm still suffering from being worn out last season, if I'm really honest, mate. This time last year, I felt way worse, because it was a shock. I won't lie, it was a shock. This time last year, even though we seen it coming with the appointments of Benitez and injuries and what have you, it was a shock. And it was
like the whole world was against
exactly, and it just felt terrifying. It feels this year, it's arguably in some respects worse than last year, but for some reason, maybe I'm just not allowing myself to.
We've seen it coming this season, haven't we? We've been prepping for it. We've been, stuck in the basement full of spam and guns, ready to take on
doomsday preppers. Man.
That's it, man. We've been ready to take on the world.
Yeah.
And,
but I do. The one thing I would say, you want to go too far down the negative rabbit hole.
I don't think that's negative.
No. But what I would say is, and maybe this is why I'm not absolutely flapping it just right now, is that there's a lot of teams in this, and like for with 20 minutes left on Saturday, Bournemouth were 15th or 16th rather. And then obviously they lose the game in the second bottom. And, for a good while on Sunday, Everton was 16th or 15th. And so therefore, while we're still in that mix, you can still see why people will go, no, we'll be all right. But
Yeah.
It's Saturdays. Saturday's a big game. There's no question about it.
You know, like I'll say this, as you know, I'm an analogy guy, right? It's how I live. I know you guys love it when you hear the traffic over here, so I had to walk back this way. No, I was just going to say, hopefully we'll hear some crickets and some frogs as well on our little Toffee TV club called Nature Walk with Astro.
Maybe.
And all that, turning into a little Steve Irwin. You got to watch out for them stingrays. The stingrays will get you.
They will. They will.
They'll get you.
They will.
They'll get you. Anyway, so for me, it's like this, right? Does anybody remember that HBO show, The Newsroom, with Jeff Daniels?
Tremendous.
So the first 5 minutes of that show is him getting pinned down and having to answer a question, why America was the greatest country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Daniels answers truthfully and says, it's not. And he's right in everything that he goes on to say, which is hard for, you know, these you know, flag humping patriotic, you know, Nimrods to hear, right? But it's the truth. And I got to say this about Everton, right? We aren't great anymore. All right. This is the harsh and hard reality in this foul year of our Lord 2023. We are not great anymore. And we have to accept where we are and the measures that we're going to have to undertake to get out of it. And I just think that that's a pill that nobody wants to swallow, but we ain't all that in a pack of crackers anymore. We are relegation fodder, and it breaks your heart to say it, but we're a very badly run football club that has been left behind the times, and we got a really big hole to crawl out of. And I don't know any way of crawling out of it except together and loudly, vocally yelling the entire way. Because if anybody's going to save this club, it's going to be the fans through protesting, through raising Cain. You know what I mean? The 1878's having to go out on a limb yesterday saying, give us our bloody banners so we can support the club. And they had to publicly shame the club to get them to act like some petulant child that's been eating too much candy. You know what I'm saying? They had to shame them. So for me, it's like this, you know, I'm going to have to raise hell over here and yell like an idiot, do everything I can to support the team. From here.
We lost him.
He went.
Disconnect. He'll be back.
Yeah, I'm back.
He's back. He's back.
Yeah, you're going to have to do boots on the ground stuff there, right, to support the club and to do everything that you can possibly do. And these players are going to have to realize that it's not just enough to pull the shirt on. They've got to snap into every tackle. They've got to chase every ball. And they've got to be on it like a car bonnet the entire game. And it's going to be that from now until the end of the season if we're going to stay up. And we're going to be knackered and we're going to be exhausted. But it's the only way we stay up. So, yeah, I think we have to be real with ourselves right now. Everton isn't great anymore, but it could be again.
Make Everton great again? Is that what you're saying?
No, hell no. No. Let's make Everton outstanding again. Okay. You know what I mean? Let's make it the school. Let's reopen the doors to the School of Science.
Yeah, I remember the last fellow tried that. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I think you're right. I think it's interesting what you say. It's because it's. I suppose, yeah, everyone's got to do their jobs. I suppose it's a case of timing in a way, because funny enough, I've just been talking then on a show about, you know, like the bus welcomes things. Like, would people want bus welcomes back, or are they almost, is it too early for that kind of thing? Or does that heap the wrong kind of pressure on players who mightn't be able to cope with it? Do we have to put, is there a pressure we put on the players by not by creating an atmosphere? That's not what I'm saying, but do you know what I mean? Do we? I think you'll hear the rhetoric from the manager of you have to win every game, but at the same time, he's not going overboard either. The way he talks is quite sensible. He's not putting heaps and heaps and pressure on every single game. He's saying you got to win every game because that's what you got to do anyway. You got to try and win every game. So it's an interesting one. I suppose it's like it's having a consistency, isn't it? And this is where, funny enough, the club have let themselves down recently with like the flags and stuff. Have the consistency of having the flags there for every single game, because why are you trying to make one game more important than the other? Surely every game we go to at home should be a big event, because in fact we've paid a lot of money for it to be a bit of a big event, haven't we?
True. Yeah.
And it shouldn't be a case of like, this game is more important than the other. Sure, obviously some are emotionally, like Merseyside derbies and things like that, but where we are right now, we need a level of consistency, I think, from everybody to get those wins, and Saturday's no different. You know, it's Brentford, it's going to be a tough game, and there should be, everyone should hopefully do what they can to get us over the line in the game, and again, that's where the manager comes into it, because does he risk a Dominic Calvert-Lewin if he's not completely fit? I imagine he won't, because I think he'll think we need to get him to a level of consistency in his fitness so he can play 10 games rather than going, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, because that's obviously what he's been trying to avoid. So I just think it's about finding that consistency in everything we do now to try and get, and that comes in the play as well, isn't it? So we'll see what happens.
And establishing consistency. Now, we've got a very small sample size of the season left, right? We've got such a shortened period that we have to be consistent in, that the margin for error is absolutely razor thin, right? And that's just the reality. Once you accept that and you understand that that's the atmosphere you're operating in, it's a whole lot easier. Just accept it and go.
What I would say to that, Nick, though, the margin of error should be the margin. The margin of error should be the same margin of error it's been in his first 6 games. And if we do have similar results to what we've had in the first 6 games, then we should be there or thereabouts, shouldn't we, Baz? You'd say if we take 14 points from our last games, that'll put us to 36 points. That'll have us there or thereabouts. It'll be tight. But what I mean is that some people will go, the first six games of Sean Dyche's regime are great. Some people will say they're not so great. But if we have that level of consistency for the next 12 games,
7 points in 6 games, so we've got 12 games left. So that gives us 36. 36, I think, keeps us up just about.
I mean, 36 would have kept us up every season out of the last 5 but 1, right?
That's 9 but 10, 9 out of 10, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone said the other day.
Yeah.
So
I think it's even bigger. Yeah.
So that's what we have to do.
So there you go. If we keep back consistency, then we've got a chance, haven't we?
I think so. I mean, I also think that this team has been through a lot together, and I also think that the way Sean Dyche seems to be approaching things, he's fostering a bit of unity in that squad. And if he's got buy-in and they're on his same sheet of music, then we might actually see marked improvement even above and beyond what we've already seen.
We should.
We're going to come back, fingers crossed, knock on wood, nobody gets drastically injured, and we're able to bring a few people back into the fold, freshen legs up a bit, change some things around. We could give people a very hard time. We could really give people a hard time. I think that, Brentford is massive because, they come in under a head of steam, unbeaten in 11, and they're ripe for the picking. You know what I mean? I mean, listen, we all know all we got to do is talk to Ivan and get him to get us a favorable result on his bet card, and we'll be all right because, he's playing and he lays the bets, baby. So, we just need good time Ivan to place a bet for us because, they obviously not going to bench him. They're going to let him play. So, why not, get some of them millions over there, get him to square us up a win. They can spare the points. Am I wrong?
I think he's only got a Vegas bookie left now, Nick. So you probably have to speak.
I might have to make the call.
You might have to make the call. I think that's the only place you can get a bet now is in Vegas.
Yeah.
So
I know there are a lot of other people lined up behind me, and I know people are probably tired of hearing my voice. But I just want to say thanks to you guys for doing such boss content. It's like therapy, getting through all this, being able to commune with so many incredible Evertonians. And again, thank you guys for all the hard work you do. It's impressive.
Cheers, Nick.
Weekend, day in, day out, week in, week out. Toffee TV's on.
Nice one, mate. See you later.
Take care. Bye, mate. Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Top man.
There you go. He is the top man, isn't he? Didn't hear any frogs though.
No. Aye. That's fine.
We just didn't. We just didn't. So we'll see. Big game at the weekend. Benjamin James says the conspiracy theory with John Candy in Home Alone is that when the mum says she'll sell her soul to the devil to get Kevin back, is that John Candy's character is the devil.
But someone said it was Elvis previously, earlier today.
That tells me it's not a real thing.
But that's not a conspiracy, though. That's a plot point. That's not a conspiracy, is it? That's just saying. No, but you have a lot of this in films where people put these things in that people find out. There's loads of them. It's like It's low. I mean, I'm not talking about like things like The Sixth Sense. I'm saying like there are things in films which are like have hidden meanings that the director's put in there, and if he's put that in, then fine. Then she has to live with those consequences. I don't think I would have sold my soul for Kevin, but there you go.
There you go. Lee Winstanley says, "Evening guys, loved the Tuesday topic yesterday. Great listen as always. I always enjoyed the three of you debating. Anyway, it helped me get through the decorating last night, as I'm hoping this live at 5 does tonight. Keep up the great work. Fingers crossed for 3 points on Saturday." Cheers, Lee. Absolutely. Mikey says, "Evening lads, regarding Tony, there's no way he should be allowed to play. The moment he pleaded guilty, he should have been banned." Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think that's what the rules, but obviously the rules aren't.
Yeah.
The rules aren't that, and he can play, so it is what it is. We've got Paul on the line, so let's go and speak on the line. Hello, Paul.
All right, gents, can you hear me?
Yeah,
very
loud and clear.
Fantastic, boys. I've just on, obviously, I'm going to go in a little bit in the face of what Astro said before. I think, obviously, we'll always support the club, but I'm getting absolutely tired of these set of players. I've got to say, I don't understand how 11 players can be so devoid of technical ability. You know, you look at that Forest game there. All right, the Corey's pass was a little bit off, but listen, watch Dwight McNeil enough now. We're bigging him up. But against Villa, when he was shooting at the street end from my seat, he does not lift his head up once when he's pinging that ball in the box. He doesn't pick he's not picking a player out. He's just running in a straight line. And again, not knocking the lad. He's coming on the dice. But I think there's only so far, the blood and thunder gets you without a little bit of like guile or technical ability. And you're sitting there thinking, some of these players are on £100,000 a week. Can't pass a ball 2 yards sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we all love the club. We want what's best for it, but then players are championship standard. I don't know if it was you, Ped, who said the game on Sunday was like watching 2 championship teams.
Yeah, it was.
I said it as well. I said it was a bad advert. I said it was a bad advert for the championship.
I actually said it was a good advert for the championship.
Oh, no, I thought it made the championship look bad. There you go.
I don't want to be too down on the, but lads, it was, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, Jesus, this is really bad. We've cried out for Ben Godfrey at left back. Mikalenko was out. Lost his man twice. I know he's probably a bit rusty, but Brennan Johnson just literally was just unmarked. And you think, what's going on? It's just like, there is that. I don't know if it's a bit of nous. The technical ability isn't there. We talk about Alex Iwobi, bring him into the middle. I mean, he's been off the boil, hasn't he? And he's saying, it's because he's on the wing. No, I just think he's technically not as good as we think he is. And as I say, it's the same for Dwight McNeil for me. It's as I say, I watched the lad against Villa come down that flank where I sit in the upper class. I watched them purposely. I said to the lad next to me, doesn't stick his head up. You can see. So we were all looking, and as he runs in that straight line, you can see what he's trying to do: get to the byline and swing it in. Whether it was low, whether it was high, into the middle. I think he was just hitting and open.
Well, he'll just be asked to hit an area only with the ball, and that's there's a lot of players that do that. Trent Alexander-Arnold does it really well for Liverpool. He just hits an area, doesn't always pick his head up, just gets it out of his feet and puts it in. I think the issue, I think, for Everton, you're right, there's times when you need to pick your head up and see what is on, but I think the bigger issue for Everton is there's nobody getting across, the goalkeeper and putting people under pressure in the middle. There might be one man in the middle, and therefore the ball has to be almost perfect if you're picking one man and there's 3 or 4 defenders, doesn't it? It has to be perfect to take a defender out but find one of your shares. I think this is what Frank Lampard struggled with. It's having one player in the box who isn't a natural striker as well is going to cause yourself issues. So I think what Dyche tries to do is get bodies in the box and hit an area. The problem I have with it, Paul, is that we're not getting that on the right hand side. If that was coming in from both wings, then we could probably gamble a little bit more. We'd have more opportunity. But in terms of the technical ability, we do give the ball away shockingly. And I bet you these players aren't as bad as they're showing. in terms of individually. You know, if you watch them train or whatever, but come match day, it's like a hot potato to our players sometimes. They just struggle to do the basics. That's how it looks anyway.
One player there in the midfield to step up there Sunday, and they won that game. I needed one player to step up and take that game by the scruff.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it, Paul? That's what this club, this team, and this club are devoid of, isn't it? At the moment, is one player. You know, Forest, if they stay up, it'll probably be because of Brendan Johnson and Gibbs White's ability to break teams down. Every team has one. Southampton have got Ward-Prowse, you know, free kicks and stuff. Every team has got that one, and so most of the season we've been missing that one player. Iwobi was championed as that player because he'd done created a few goals, but he's only scored one, and we are desperately missing. And it's why Dominic Calvert-Lewin's name continues to be mentioned, because he is that one player that if he got a run of 10 games, he could possibly get 4 or 5 goals. Because he will be in there, and it's about his timing. If there's crosses in there, he'll make himself a bit of a nuisance. We've seen that in the Arsenal game, and he is the difference. And you know, Everton have always had 1 or 2 players that have just separated them from. Maybe sometimes not having those 1 or 2 is separated from being top 4, say, and sometimes having those 1 or 2 is stopped us being in relegation fight and has kept us in the middle, say, but. That's what we're devoid of, because the players are just they're just poor players. I mean, I don't know why people are scared to say that, and it's not something you want reading in its head. Maybe at Goodison Park for 2 hours, but we just have got loads of bad players. It's just as simple as that, isn't it? It's a bad collection of players. It's not a good mix. It doesn't have like a through line of a way we play, because sometimes you can have an average set of players, but given a certain way of playing. Funny enough, Dice did this at Burnley for 5 or 6 years. We've just got a random collection of very, very bang average players, and we are where we are because of it. And you know that because our top scorer's got four goals in the Premier League.
The thing for me, Paul, is that you go through the team. And it's okay, and the back four's okay. We've got a good goalie, the back four's okay. I think it's, you know, Patterson comes in, gives us more energy. Not that Seamus Coleman's done anything wrong, because he hasn't. Just Patterson younger gives you that bit more energy. And in midfield is okay. Could be better. The word you mentioned before, Guile, I think we haven't got... out of the 3 in midfield, we could do with one who's actually creative and who gets goals. But it's the top end of the pitch, and McNeil has improved. He has improved, he's got better, but he's still... He's not getting you 8-9 goals, is he? You're wide. Iwobi, Ped just said that he's got 1 goal all season. That's not good enough, and we haven't got a centre forward. I think if we had a centre forward all season, I think Everton would have been higher up. I'm not saying he'd have been challenging for Europe or nothing like that, but they would have kept themselves out of trouble, I think, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin stays fit. But that doesn't overcome the issue that is there, and it is that creativity. There just isn't enough in it. And so if you've got players who don't score, and you've only got Alex Iwobi who's really creative, but he doesn't score either, then you're gonna struggle straight away, aren't you? And that's where we are. But I think for now, it is just gonna be battling and blood and thunder till the end of the season, mate, and then see where that takes us, really, with that set of players.
Yeah, it's just disheartening, but you know, I'll end on this, mate. That midfield wing cost 120 million to assemble.
That's crazy. It's absolutely
horrendous.
Yeah, it's crazy to have that. I bet you Brentford didn't cost anywhere near 120 million. Their whole team.
Yeah, no.
You know, we'll see how good they are as a team at the weekend. So
yeah, fantastic.
You know.
Well, nice one, boys.
Cheers, Paul. Ta-ra, mate.
See you, mate. Take care. Bye, mate. Bye.
Ta-ra.
I reckon if you had a reality show and they give you that money, you could still find a midfield. An Everton midfield cheaper.
Everton could have, you know, Brighton, we've mentioned it before. Brighton come to Goodison with a starting 11 that cost less than Alex Iwobi and beat us 4-1. So the players are out there, and you can get them playing in a way that's effective. Everton haven't done it, we know that, but we are where we are, aren't we? There's 12 games to go. We're not getting a whole new team in these next 12 games, so we've we've just got to battle through and see exactly what happens. Aaron has got a message for you, Ped.
Okay.
It says, feel free to mention your meals, Ped, prepped with passion.
No. Aaron, no. And I'll tell you why, mate. Because you brought us some beautiful food in, but I haven't had a chance. We obviously haven't ate any of them. And tomorrow, once we eat them, and
You're getting it.
And we taste how nice they are,
you're getting your own video.
You'll get more. But what I will say is Aaron has brought us in some beautifully prepared food. My mistake, I thought...
Prepped with passion.
Prepped with Passion is the firm run by passionate Evertonians. I thought he was coming in tomorrow, so I never got a chance to speak to him, and I apologise. That was my fault. I didn't read the message properly. Thought you were coming in tomorrow. Prepped with Passion, it's called. I think it's called Prepped with Passion. And tomorrow we'll have a little taste test tomorrow, and we'll film it and we'll put it on our socials so everybody knows. So, but they do look nice. We've put them in the fridge. They're safe. We've got them with our bendy bullies. And tomorrow we'll dive into them, mate. Don't you worry. I don't want to just throw a tasteless little thing out there without tasting the goods. I want to taste the goods, and I want to be impressed, and then we'll tell the world, mate. Nice one for popping in.
There you go. Eugene says MSP closer to Everton. Go over to Premier before we take Pat. Toby Larone, great name, says the key money was accounted for a while ago. I think Baz told us that. Yeah, they took that well into account. And are we here?
Where are you?
Let's refresh. Let's go to Pat, because that's taking ages to refresh. We got Pat on the line. Pat, are you there?
Yep. How you doing, guys?
We're okay. How are you?
Hanging in. It's every game that goes by, it feels like that we're not picking up W's. It feels a little bit farther away. How another capitulation. I think we're one of the teams that's worst at dropping points from winning positions. And given how few winning positions we've been in, that's really sad.
Yeah.
So I was looking at FB Ref just to see, like, as Paul was talking about, sort of the lack of technical ability in our midfield. And I just look, okay, so what kind of, like, players are like the players we have? And I go to Amadou Onana. You know who his number one most similar player is? Abdoulaye Doucouré. They're the same player.
Yeah, that's very Everton, isn't it?
It is absolutely. We have these players that are just missing something. Iwobi, he works really hard, but he's really doesn't have good defensive technique. But he works really hard, and he runs as fast as he can, but he's also not very fast. Dwight McNeil, very similar. Works really hard, tracks back, is somewhat physical, but he's also really slow. With the two fastest players besides Damari Gray are Onana and Doucouré, and maybe Ghana. But all of them have deficiencies when it comes to controlling the ball. They all have, like, humongous. They're all way down in the percentiles on miscontrols. I think Paul makes an excellent point. I think we're all getting tired, not because necessarily they're bad people or they're not trying for the club. It's just they don't have the technical ability. Damari Gray, when McNeil puts that cross all the way across to him, and he has time to set up, shoot, and he passes it to the nearest defender. Like, passes it. It's not even. That shouldn't have even been counted as a shot.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
How did we get to this? From a point where it was, I stopped watching Everton because I was tired of the mediocrity of Roberto Martinez, and now they look like halcyon days.
I think, listen, it's not rocket science how we got here. We just kept on buying really bad players for. I'll tell you what we did. Well, yeah, actually, what we did do is we bought really, really average players for a lot of money, and then when nobody wanted those players, and they ended up sitting on the bench, and letting their contracts go down, so we got nothing for them. Then we replaced them with really, really cheap players who were really poor as well. And that's basically where we are, how we are where we are now. And what we've had to do is, during that time, is sell off the family silver at the same time. So, and what happens is, and I think this has happened to lots of clubs over the years who don't do things the right way or think they're doing the things the right ways. If you're not bringing in good players, then you don't have good players to sell. And then with Everton, so Richarlison was like he's not the last one, because Dominic Calvert-Lewin's the last one, really. But because Dominic Calvert-Lewin's not playing, obviously you don't see his effect on the pitch. But Richarlison was the thing that kept us up last season. And then the year before that, we obviously had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, and we had James Rodriguez. So we had 3 good players, sort of, and we had another player that can't be named. So we had 4 good players, and we've lost. And very quickly we'd lost 2 of those players. That they were the players who were creating the goals for us, and the players who were scoring the goals with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. And this season we don't have the players who put the ball in the back and the players who create the goals. And that's the top and bottom of it, isn't it? It's not rocket science. It's not. You don't have to scratch your head of why we've done it. We've replaced good players with bad players, and that's where we are now. And now we don't have anyone to sell. So where does the money come from? Obviously, we've just lost Anthony Gordon, but no one really cares, because he was like, he hadn't done anything. So Newcastle are buying potential. You don't mind losing potential because it hasn't done anything. But we are now looking around thinking, where do we go right now? If Everton do survive, what happens? Who will we have to sell? Who's next on the list? Who's next on the chopping block? Well, Onana would seem to be the next on the chopping block, or even Jordan Pickford would seem to be the next on the chopping block. And that's where we are as a football club. And until that stadium is built, and until it is probably had one full season full, things aren't going to change. And this is the fundamental problem that happens with having a bad owner, a bad board, and managers who are promised things, directors of football who are promised things and not given them, and that's how easy it is. It's not rocket science. I think we sort of seen similar in a way with Southampton, when every summer they were selling players to Liverpool and thought it was hilarious. Oh, we're selling this player, we're selling that player, and then forgot to replace the players they were selling. And you see a similar thing with this. Happens all the time. And funny enough, we were doing the match preview before, we were about Brentford, and we were saying what Brentford have done brilliantly, or what Brighton has done brilliantly, is they sell players and already have the guy in the club who's going to replace them, and they already know he's good enough, and all they do is just go, see you mate, 85 million quid, bye, here comes the next fella, and the next fella within 6 months everyone wants him. And the challenge for them will be that gap will get smaller in selling them. Will they get 2 years? Casido, we've seen it this summer. In January. Chelsea coming in for him. Now they've managed, and Arsenal, now they've managed to keep him and give him a new contract. But how long will he want to stay? Because their success could be the thing that undoes them. But Brentford have done it. Ollie Watkins, the next one comes in, Ivan Toney. Do they have the next one ready to go? I don't know, but they've got a couple of players. Where Everton have never done that. Everton have gone, we've got Richarlison, he's brilliant. Oh, we'll never, ever, ever, ever sell Richarlison. We'll never, ever, ever sell Lukaku. And everyone's like, you will, mate. Because at some point he'll want to leave. And everyone's like, no, that won't happen. And then they sell them. And then what happens? You're sitting there twiddling your thumbs going, where's the next fella? Where's the next fella? I mean, the next fella hasn't come. Richarlison replaced Lukaku, fine. But where's the next fella? And the next fella hasn't come, and we haven't got any money, and this is where we are now. So it's diminishing returns all the time when your club is ran as badly as Everton Football Club is.
You should always be buying strikers, forward players. They're the people that win your games. Everton have got a plethora, what a great word that is, of centre-backs and midfield. It's getting cut down now, but they have had that. And yet the forward players are almost like an afterthought. You know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was turned into our main striker. We didn't buy him when we got rid of Lukaku. He hung around and until he developed enough, and then he had to develop on the job as well. And Everton should have, the money Everton have had at their disposal, they should have had players lined up who had goals in them. That the squad, given the money we spent, should be littered with goals. And it isn't. It's anything but goals, and that is the worry. And that's why sometimes you look and think, do they actually know what they're doing?
No,
because they don't. They keep cutting the goals and goals since Lukaku, Barkley, Richarlison, James Rodriguez, Gylfi Sigurd. You just go down, and people who got your goals, it's just reduce. But
the thing is, though, this is not the first time this has happened, Pat, by the way. We've watched this our entire lives happen. We've watched this. This is like the 4th time I think it's happened in my life. So when Everton had this great team in the 80s, and obviously we got the European ban, we replaced great players with absolutely standard bad players, like average players. So Gary Stevens left to go to Rangers because they were spending the money at the time. They were in Europe. We replaced them with Neil MacDonald. Neil MacDonald, it was like Tony Ibbott, just a bang average right back who had nothing about him. We replaced Peter Reid with Stuart McCall. You know, and then what happened is then we replaced those players with worse players. So what that happened is you go from this great team in the 80s, and before you know it, in 93, 94, you're in a relegation fight because the players you've bought to replace them are crap. Joe Royle takes over. He starts bringing better players in, and again, he's sort of lied to on the money front. He's told there's loads of money. And what happens? He has players like Kanchelskis. He has players like there's Gary Speeds in there. He wants to add to it, and then he's told he can't add to it. So he leaves the club. Howard Kendall comes in, and then suddenly Kanchelskis already gone, of course. But then you start seeing the likes of Gary Speed leaving, Nick Barmby leaving, Duncan Ferguson leaving, all these players in that span. Then Moyes comes in, and Moyes starts to try and build them up. And to be fair, what Moyes did really well was say, if there's don't sell any of my players. I'm not asking you to buy me players. Just don't sell any of the players. He now and again Lescott was one of the real first ones, obviously after Rooney, and then we have a lull of 2 years where we don't buy a player, and then we started pulling the players in. He leaves. Martinez comes in. Martinez brings Lukaku in, but his other signings weren't great. He inherits John Stones. He inherits Ross Barkley. He brought
McCarthy and Barry in, which were good.
No, but then he brings in poor players. When McCarthy gets injured, he has to bring a Tom Cleverley in. Then he leaves. What happens? He leaves. First thing is John Stones gets sold. Then Ross Barkley gets sold. Then Romelu Lukaku gets sold. And then you replace them with average players. And then they start getting sold. So we've seen this. This is not the first time we've seen this in our lives.
Not our first rodeo.
This is not our first rodeo. We've seen it. This is why relegation has happened. This is why but the pattern always follows. The pattern always follows the same. You start off with a good thing, and you watch it diminish, and it always ends up with a relegation fight. But you always have that one little thing.
It does happen at clubs. Manchester United did it, didn't he? Ferguson had unbelievable players, and they started getting older and older, and he didn't quite replace it. Moyes takes over. Then they start panicking, throw money at it. That was
the only one time it happened, though, really, wasn't it?
No, but I'm just saying, sorry, yeah, and Liverpool have done a bit on a small scale, but it does happen at clubs. But what the key is to grab hold of it before it goes too far. But Everton have never ever grabbed hold of it. Everton have never grabbed hold of it.
No.
You know, and when you're talking about Peter Reid, you know, we had Stuart McCall and Mike Milligan. You know, we let Kevin Sheedy was coming to the end. We got Ian Wilson. As if he was going to replace him. These are players who weren't on the same level. No. Pat Nevin, good little footballer, but he wasn't Trevor Stephen. And Everton have done it like that. You know, Everton have. That's the way it went. Gary Lineker, you know, Tony, we had Aidan Heathfried and Tony Cottee. Wasn't quite the same. You know, we've done it constantly. You know, and you'd bite anyone's hand off to have Tony Cottee now, by the way. I'm just saying after Lineker. Yeah. So it's happened on various levels. But once Lukaku was going, Everton had money as well, and they should have been going, let's get 3 strikers. And people might go, seen people say this, it's unrealistic to have 3. But people used to say it about Spurs. Harry Kane, they can't have another decent striker. Tottenham got 6 forwards now. They haven't won anything, but they're all there. And Everton have just never, for me, invested in the right area.
It's only unrealistic because people keep on telling you it's unrealistic. People keep on telling you that things can't be done at the football club. Spurs are the best advert for it. Spurs defy that. They defy that. I mean, the results are up and down, but they're still in the chances of getting a Champions League place. And it's because the guy who runs the club has got genuine ambition to push the club through the glass ceiling, whereas the guy who runs us, or the guy has been running us for the last 30 years, has never had that ambition. He has not got the tools. So therefore, instead of saying, I can't do this, I'll let someone else do it. What he's simply done is said, I'll bring Everton down to my level, and we'll say this is the level.
Well, it's what it is it's self-preservation, and it's also, I like it like this, and I like it, and other people are going, no, to be this club, you have to get rid of all that stuff you like because you have to be ruthless.
We said it before. Again, I did a show before, and it'll come out. It'll come out tonight on Premiere and tomorrow on YouTube. And we're talking about why people are demonstrating and why people are marching. It's because the standards have been lowered for years, Pat. And we've got a situation now where we've got a group of people who don't quite know what the identity is of this football club, because we've got a generation, we've got new fans who, whether overseas like yourself, Pat, who've come in the last 10 years, who've seen it themselves go from one thing maybe under Moyes, Tim Howard sort of era, to seeing this now and going, how did that get from there that quickly? We've been watching this all our lives as Evertonians. People who are older than us will say, in 1970 we had the best team in England. And then 3 years later, we're selling the crown jewel in Alan Ball. These things have happened throughout our history, and it's going to take someone to go in at Everton and say, and the last guy, obviously John Moores, and we were called the Mersey Millionaires and all that. And when John Moores relinquished the club, that's when those standards started being eroded. He was like what you would see as the Man City owner now, or Levy or whatever. He was like that, ruthless. If you're not good enough, you're out the club in a proper way. And that just doesn't happen anymore at the football club. If you're not good enough to do your job at Everton Football Club, you get moved sideways in the club. This situation just can't go on. If Everton want to be a top club, and no one expects them to be a top club in terms of what we've seen through our lives of being like one of the big five, what we're going to have to do first of all is move our model towards a Brighton or a Brentford. That's the model we're going to have to go to for, and then get to a level where we maybe one day can go to the next level, which is you've got that aura about you. That's a long way off, but it's a long way off if we don't change, and we're not changing. This is what I think annoys most people, and this is why people are protesting, is because people are telling them, good people after good people are saying you're gonna, and they refuse to change. You only have to watch the interview Mashiri did with Jazz from the Fab. That fella lives in Cloud Cuckoo Land. He lives in Cloud Cuckoo Land, that fella. He blatantly lied on it. And I'm not talking about promises and a striker, by the way. He blatantly lied about being involved in transfers, when only a few days later it comes out that he was involved in selling Anthony Gordon, and the director of football didn't have anything to do with it. These people live in Cloud Cuckoo Land, and they need to be legged out of our football club one way or another. And hopefully MSP coming in might shake it up a little bit. It might put some adults in the room. That's all I'm hoping. Because what I've seen, Pat, and maybe you can tell me different, mate, but what I've seen, that in American sports, there's no room for messing about. There's no room for arson. There's no room for sentimentality from what I've seen in American sports. It's all about the bottom line, which is winning and making money and saying to people, we're going to give you the... yesterday, I was looking at the LA Clippers' new basketball arena, £2 billion. Yep. It cost. It looks like a spaceship, and they're like, "Yeah, what you expect?" LA Clippers are not even the biggest club in LA, but the guy who owns them wants them to be the biggest. They are basically against. They're Everton, and the other team are Liverpool, the Lakers. And they've got the biggest basketball player in the world playing for LeBron James, and they're like, if we're going to catch up to them, the fella was yesterday, and Pat, you confirm it. The fella was on yesterday telling everyone how amazing the toilets are. Wasn't he?
It's surprising how good the facilities are in American stadiums. At Wrigley Field in Chicago, we used to make fun of the toilets because, like a lot of Chicago teams are like Everton, we used to have piss troughs, honestly, up until maybe 10 years ago, and everyone laughed at us for it. But we're like, we're still a club, we're a publicly same thing. It's the same it's the same crap that happens at Everton. And the sad thing is that you buy multiple players, because this is the one rule I learned in baseball when I started getting into analytics and recruitment in terms of understanding that part of the game. The thing that prospects do best is fail. And so you buy three because all three of them might fail, but you're hoping one succeeds. Not everyone comes in as a 16 or 17-year-old like Wayne Rooney or Leo Messi. No. Obviously different players, and just succeed. And they're just there, and they're going to play for you forever. It's like it's what Spurs are dealing with, even though they're successful. They've held on to players for too long now. They've had Hugo Lloris and Harry Kane have been on the same team, I think, for a decade now. That's too long. That is way too long to have players for that long. And they now need to seriously be thinking about replacing Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe he can hold on for a few more seasons. But yeah, that's what it is. It's we place our hopes on big buys that we hope will fix everything and be a panacea.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we got James Rodriguez. Oh, it's great. Well, what happens if James gets injured? Well, he won't get injured. Don't worry about it. Are you sure that we shouldn't have a backup plan or a couple of prospects in the U21s or U23s getting ready in case? No. He'll be fine. Same stuff. Ugh.
Pat, you're talking about a football club also, though, that did bring James Rodriguez in. Failed to give him his iconic number 10 and then failed bar the first day to market him anywhere in the world for the good of Everton and creating shirt sales. You're talking about a club that doesn't know what it's doing with talent on the pitch and off the pitch. You're talking about a football club. It doesn't know how to market itself. It doesn't know how to put players that are actually have got worldwide brands like Dominic Calvert-Lewin seems to be doing. Whether you like it or you don't like it, that's not the point. They don't use them in marketing or understand how to sell shirts abroad using their names and using that leverage of having someone like James Rodriguez. You're talking about failings that don't just start at the team or in the team and whether a player is fit or not fit. You're talking about that structurally that goes all over the football club. That's the kind of football club you're talking about. You're talking about a football club that when the accounts come out, there'll be losses in because the club doesn't understand how to sell itself anywhere. You know, it's just failed at every level, this football club. And yet the people still tell us they're the best people to do the jobs.
But yeah, Pat's right there, though, in terms of when we have bought players, it's almost like we think this player's going to fix everything. Yeah. It's an impatience. It's buy this player now and he'll fix this or he'll fix that. Instead of going, should we buy a couple of them? Yeah. And then what will complement that player? In a couple of years, these are going to really, drag us through instead of just trying to sort it with one sign.
But we said that a couple of years ago, didn't we? When we signed someone and we were saying, well, why aren't we sort of twin tracking a younger player with them, because this player will age out and the younger player can then come through and take their place. We seem to buy players and then get completely shocked that because they're 29-year-olds and have been legged around the world and have a certain thing that you need a backup player, and when you have a James Rodriguez playing on the right-hand side for you, and then he's out and you replace him with Theo Walcott or someone, do you know what I mean? It's like, or whoever, do you know what I mean? Someone who's completely different to them. And we've seen it this season. We have a Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing up front for us, and then you say, well, when you're not playing, mate, we're going to replace you with a fella who is not got anything identical to the way you play. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, let me just highlight the way in which the two sides of Merseyside deal with things. They've had a player who has some of the most assists of any defender in both Robertson, but Trent Alexander-Arnold, a local guy. The one of the first images you will see if you search Trent Alexander-Arnold will be the famous mural, the "I'm just a lad for Liverpool, his dream" thing, right? Yeah. That is using an asset and marketing him, and not only that, they planned ahead because they brought in Ramsey to potentially replace him, even though they're still going to stick with him at least for a little while longer, and he's 24. So they're thinking, it just shows you the gulf. It's just we are a mom and pop shop, and they're like a business.
We waited till our right back was 32 and had had a serious leg break and was running through brick walls for us every single week to bring in a young lad who had played 12 times for Rangers, who hadn't learnt, who should have had two seasons being as a backup to a 28-year-old. And then come into the side. We get these things wrong all the time. We did it with the left back. We did it with Dean. We could have had Robinson as our backup left back, ready for that day when Luca Dean goes when he's 28, 29, and then that kid's ready to go. But we didn't. We went, no, we'll sell you, and we won't really have a backup left back. We'll probably just shove a full back in there, or maybe even Fabian Delph one day. And then what happens? Dean has an eye once he goes, and then you're looking for a new left back who probably isn't as good as Anthony Robinson is now. And that's the way the football club does.
That's Leighton Baines' record. Anyways, guys.
Cheers, Pat. It's like therapy, this, isn't it? It's like therapy. Nice one, Pat.
Nice one, Pat.
See you later, mate.
Care, mate.
There you go. Yeah, $2 billion the guy from the Clippers is paying, and they're not the biggest. They're the second biggest basketball club. Haven't won anything for years, but the guy's like saying, "Well, if we want to win something, we better start putting ourselves in place." Paying I'm sure he's not paying $2 billion, but no. That's the difference.
Lila says we are an average player's agent stream. Yeah. That's the problem. We are a landing ground for agent fee dross. Correct, Lila, absolutely correct. AFC Graham says Everton are like a toothless man entering a meat-eating contest. Yeah,
pretty much it.
I've just seen something here. Where are we? Brian Murray says you talk about DCL as if he's the Messiah. He's not. He's just a very naughty boy.
No, he's not a very naughty boy, is he? He's not a very naughty boy.
Granted, he'd make a difference even if he's not match fit, but these crosses from McNeil in the corridor of uncertainty is very Everton and very at Brentford look a bit too much for us, so we have to break the game up. Yeah. The reason is, though, Brian, is that everyone mentions, Dom, is that the alternate isn't great, is it? That's the problem. For me, Dom, is we should have other players, other strikers who can get goals, and therefore none of us you wouldn't be going, we need him back, because you'd be saying we need him back when he's fully fit, where every week it's a case of going, is he fit, is he included? And then the obvious disappointment when his name isn't in the squad, and then people go the other way, then some people, and say he doesn't want to play or whatever. In terms of Premier members coming on, put your name in the chat.
Yeah, never mind chat.
Otherwise, you won't be on.
Ned's scared of people that he doesn't know.
Yeah. So you have to put your name in. You have to put your
name in, or they won't talk.
Well, he doesn't let you in.
He doesn't let you in. He's the gatekeeper of the club.
Therefore, if your name's not down, you're not coming in.
Exactly.
Quite simply. We have got Lee has done it, and we know it's Lee, and Lee is going to come on the phone now. Hello, Lee.
You alright, boys?
All right, mate. Go on.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about Saturday, boys, and how we can sort of spice it up a little bit inside the stadium. You know, got the 1878 who are on Twitter, aren't they? Yeah. Asking, for everybody to do everything they can. The club don't want to communicate with them. Obviously we're doing the marches. I'm not sure whether the marches are working anymore, I'll be honest with you.
It's just a repeated message, though, isn't it, Lee? That's all. I think it's just like a repeated message. But carry on, mate. Sorry.
I'm going to be doing the march. I'll do the marches every week. But I'm just wondering what effect it's having now. And it's just a plea really for me, for everybody who's listening to this, to come to Goodison on Saturday and just make it horrible.
Yeah,
just make it absolutely horrible.
I often feel like it is, Lee. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Within the laws, Lee. Obviously, within the laws. Let's get that clear.
Obviously, mate. Obviously, but we talked in our group about maybe bringing whistles or something like that. So every time Brentford are on the ball,
don't you dare bring whistles.
He's not sat next to you. People around Lee might want a whistle. You can't say that.
Like, I was hearing people getting shot down on the space the other night because Arsenal are bringing drums. They've got their own ultras now, haven't they? But it just creates an atmosphere, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it's difficult, and a lot of people will have different views on how to make it better. I don't think anyone's got the perfect answer if your team isn't winning games of football, but I think that's the perfect thing for everybody, isn't it? Your team starts winning, everyone goes along with it. But we created last season, we shown that when we did do it, it created some excellent atmospheres, really noisy and electric atmosphere when it needed to. I thought Arsenal the other week was really good. Yeah. Leeds at times was all right.
We definitely affected the Leeds game, didn't we?
Exactly. Villa wasn't. The Villa was quite
Lee,
flat.
You've just mentioned a couple of things there, right? Like, almost like you're saying we should have some kind of organised thing, but
whistle along.
No, but do you think that there is this thing in our fan base, rightly or wrongly, where there's a lot of people who'll say, and we get this all the time, and it's like, you don't talk for us, you don't represent the whole fan base. And the question is then, who does represent the whole fan base, and when is? Because I hear this loads, right? And I scratch my head about it when people go, the crowd was rubbish today, or we never sung. And it's like, well, hang on, are you in the crowd? Because you're one of those people then who didn't sing, or you're one of those people who contributed to being a bad atmosphere. So how do we do this then? Because people will say, well, the 1878s don't represent me. Well, what do we do then? Because
does that matter?
No,
right.
but what I'm saying is, though,
but
surely
I've seen the
I've
same
seen
thing.
this for years where people go,
no one's saying you.
I don't want it. No, but there's this thing of like, I don't want an organised thing, and it's like, well, if something isn't organised, then how do we get something going? Because I sit in the Gladys seat, obviously. You know, I'm in there. People, you have GT4, GT5, GT3, whatever it is. We've tried having a section where you know, people who start singing songs are in there. The club basically monitor them the entire game and put an end to it because they were policed so heavily. How do we get round this without it being organised? You mentioned Arsenal there with the drum. People have tried having a bull-on in the Gladys Street. You know, without organisation, without a section, a singing section or a section of people who are left to just get up and sing for the entire game, how do we do this? Because I just find it really frustrating when people say, the atmosphere's terrible, but I'm not saying they should do something about it, but then maybe people who do want to do something about it are shot down. So what do we do?
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it, can't you, coming across Goodison, can't you, when it's not, you know, when it's not picking up the atmosphere. You can almost feel it, can't you, on days when it's not going to happen today. And it almost takes one of them big tackles or something to happen, you know, bad refereeing decisions, doesn't it? But, you know, you see, you know, you go to Italy, places like that, you know, up into games, up into AC derbies and stuff. And, you know, we were actually unfortunate enough to go to an AC game. And there was an embargo on where the fans were in protest with the club. And they were trying not to create an atmosphere. But it just went out the window as soon as Inter scored. You know, they were setting fireworks off and air bombs off and everything.
Did you see the Dortmund fans last night?
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Oh my
that's
God!
Exactly it. Though, you know, I'm sure nobody says this is what we're going to do on Saturday at Dortmund.
No, they do at Dortmund. No, they do. Dortmund are massively organised. Honestly, we've had the fortune to be there. They are massively organised to the point where the yellow wall has a section at the bottom which is almost like a cage. It's caged off. Where all the ultras don't watch the game. They don't watch the game. They have their backs turned to the game, and all they're doing is creating the atmosphere. And what happens is the atmosphere starts in this little pen, and then it ripples backwards, and it takes so long to get to the back and get back down again that you have this constant thing. They are massively organised, mate. They have a room where they keep all their flags, and before the game they go and get all the flags. These people, when they say, oh, we'd love it to be like that or to be like that, I don't think they understand how much fan culture is paid. And like you've just said there, Milan had an embargo because they didn't want it to be fan-led. These clubs have. We were in Dusseldorf and they had a part of within the ground, they had like their own, almost like St. Luke's. They had a place where you could buy all their stickers and whatever, t-shirts, and all that money went back into the flags and the flares and whatever they needed to pay. We were talking about this today in one of our shows. In Germany, it's just, certainly at Dortmund, the way they do things is they police themselves. They have people who are fans who are paid by the club to police them. They have people who go back to the club when there's something wrong with the atmosphere, when maybe too many people who've turned up in the yellow wall who aren't proper Dortmund fans. It's so different to what we do. We are customers in terms of the way we do things to the way they do things. It's massively organised. So
they seem to be a lot more sensible in places like Germany, though, don't they?
Well, they police themselves. I think that's why. I think that's what I'm saying. No, because they police themselves and they don't allow like knobheads to ruin it for them. They've created this culture where it's like, they control the tickets. They make sure that only certain people can go in this enclosure or can go on the yellow wall full stop. They if they're not happy with certain things with the club, they have a meeting the next day and they get it sorted out. Because what they say is, well, listen, we'll take our atmosphere away and let's see how you get on with it then. Now, the other week there was a situation at one of the German teams who were in the bottom three, and all the ultras turned up at the training ground, stood behind the goal, and the captain had to go over and have a chat with them. And he basically said to him, if you give everything on Saturday, we'll leave you alone. If you don't give everything for this football club, win, lose or draw, you'll know about it. And the next minute, all these flares started raining down on the pitch, not towards the player, just a show of strength of what the fans have. And I think There's so much. We as fan culture in this country has been destroyed since the Premier League started. Absolutely destroyed. And I think we're starting to get it back. And I don't think people understand the power we have as fan bases, especially as an Everton fan base. We could all walk away now and the club would be dead because they rely on us so much. And I think this is where there has to be, though, people have to get together and go, we've got the power here. And it might be, it might be all the coaches, it might be all the supporters clubs. And I'm not talking the FAB, I'm not talking the fans forum. I'm talking about something where they get together and go, we are prepared to do this. And that might be, by the way, we're not going to all the away games. We're going to get all the tickets and we're not going. I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm saying that shows the strength that these fans have got.
A show of strength from the fans, yeah.
And listen, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying at some point the fans need to say, we hold the power at this football club, because we do. We buy the shirts, we buy the cups of tea and the pints within the ground, we buy the programmes, we buy the season tickets. We keep this football club going, and if we were to pull that away, this football club would be, especially with the new stadium on the horizon, by the way, we have got the power. And if we start flexing our muscles properly, then the club...
organisation.
It does. That's all I'm saying. That just needs a bit of organisation.
But, I think we've got 6 games left, haven't we? And it's scary. It sends a shiver down my spine to think that that might be the last 6 games ever at Goodison Park. In the soft light.
Yeah, possibility, isn't it?
I think the fans, we've proven it before, I think the fans can make a massive difference on match day.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
You go back to Wimbledon, don't you?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
We almost demanded it, didn't we?
Yeah, well, the fans definitely made their feelings known before the game on the Wimbledon game.
We did last year with the Palace. You see the stuff Palace put in their players about how they felt that night. Yeah. They were terrified because they didn't think they'd get off the pitch. I'm not saying that's acceptable, but that's the atmosphere you can create at Goodison. It's supposed to be difficult when you're in a away team. It's supposed to be difficult.
It can be a bear pick, can't it? And I think
exactly.
If everyone turns up with that mentality to say that we just aren't going to accept Brentford even getting a kick here.
Yeah. Put it this way, right? The Fulham game genuinely could be the last 3 o'clock game on a Saturday at Goodison Park in the Premier League. That's just fact. That's not me being...
doesn't scare people.
That's not me, and that's not me trying to scare anyone or be like, oh, look, that's real. That's genuinely real. That's the last game scheduled for 3 o'clock at Goodison Park, because if we're still in the shit, which we will be, all our games will be moved for telly, all the other games. So, and I think we'd only actually have...
Imagine that being the curtain call for the old lady, boys.
After Fulham, we've only actually got, 4 games left, and the Bournemouth game is definitely on a Sunday. We already know that.
4 o'clock.
So... There could be that could be the last one. People should start thinking about that and thinking what this club means to them and what in the grand scheme. And again, that's just turning up, I suppose, with a mentality, isn't it? Saying it's us against the East. That's what we had last season, didn't we? And I'm not blaming anyone for not feeling like that this season, because I haven't felt like it. If you're standing in the Gladys Street and my back sore, my knees sore, someday, but there has to be that driving force, and I suppose we all have to find that within ourselves. And that means 4 sides of the ground, by the way, and that means if you're in the top balcony, and that means if you're wearing a 3-piece whistle and you're going to have a meal before the game, that's every single person has got to bring it. Because as Baz said, the Palace players felt like with 20 minutes to go, what was the point? Because they were like, we've got nothing to earn from this game. And we're gonna be in trouble. We're gonna be in trouble if we win this game. Make them feel like that. Listen,
I think you're going to be waiting a long time for a player at Everton to give you that tackle,
exactly,
or to give you that little moment. What's going to lift the fans? Exactly, we just need to do it ourselves.
Exactly. No, you're spot on, mate. Spot on.
Absolutely.
Right,
cheers, mate. Thanks for the call, mate. See you later, mate.
Rowan says Newcastle have a group and they go in through week and organise their displays. Their owners let them in the ground, they organise them. We need something like that. Well, Everton, we're doing that last season, and then it's kind of...
I think what's going to happen now is, personally, right, I think, if I was to say to you, Baz, as a fan who sits in the Bullens, right, if I was to say to you, a group of Evertonians, we're going to take responsibility for match day, atmosphere, you what would you say to that?
Brilliant.
There you go. And I think most people would go, brilliant, because what that does is that creates... an atmosphere that I can join in on rather than me having to. Someone will go, whoever. Most people go, what can I do as one person? Because they'll look to the person to the left of them and go, if I start a song, he's not joining in, and he's not joining.
No, it can be awkward, can't it?
Yeah, of course.
But what I've found is even in the upper Bullens, when it starts bouncing, people join in, and even people who, because you get carried away with it.
So for me, I think this is where we've seen the 1878 yesterday saying that the club weren't talking to them. Well, then the club came back and said they were talking to them. That's brilliant. You put it out there, made it public. The club hate anything going public. They hate anyone saying anything in public. We know this for a fact. I think now that we have to allow people to create the atmosphere within the ground. Number one, the over the top security in the ground and outside the ground needs to be sacked off big time. It needs to be sacked off. I'm not saying you don't have stewards, you don't have police, but the heavy-handedness of them is ridiculous. They're checking the tickets going up from the concourse when I could just walk round. There's another way into my seat. I don't have to show them my ticket, but it creates this bad feeling straight away. I think there's things like that can be done. I think, listen, do we know what can be done if the Garda Street is on it? Get people in. Tell people at 2 o'clock, not 2 o'clock, 2:15 after the match is done. Tell people that there's going to be ale deals within the ground. Get people, make it £2 for a pint. Get people who start coming in, build that atmosphere up, get the song, get music played that's played at a certain decibel and a certain, what do they call it? Is it not BPM, is it, Ned? BPM. Oh, shut up, Ned.
Beats for a minute.
Yeah. Get it, people.
Go full binaural beats, mate. Speak to your brain.
Get it going. Get it going. Get the atmosphere going. We saw this in Germany. What they were doing was they were cranking the audio up on the sound system gradually, and what it meant was it forced you. You couldn't have conversations. You were having to talk louder and louder and louder, and the volume within the stadium just started going up as people were having to just talk louder and louder. And then what that meant was the songs people sung got louder, and because you were used to being, and your heart's beating and all that, you were already at that level.
I hope your heart was beating.
And you don't want that thing of like when we're all sitting there dead quiet and when Z-Cars goes up, you want it to go up gradually, build it.
You can do that 15 minutes before though, and then crank it up. Yeah. Paul says, Ped, 98% of the support doesn't want to be represented. Happy that you do what you do, and you're both great to listen to, but we all have our own opinions. That's it, Paul. The other side to it, Paul, is that though, when people just give an opinion, some people go, "You don't speak for me." Well, no one says they speak for everybody. Well, I don't think I've ever heard Ped. He does think he's right all the time, but I don't think I've ever heard him say I speak for all the fans, because he doesn't. It's just his opinion, and so that's fine. It's no one's saying I speak for all Evertonians. But if you're asked your opinion, you're gonna give it. Same as you. If we asked you what do you think, you'd give your opinion, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't assume you speak for everyone, and I don't think you'd be saying I speak for everyone. You're speaking for yourself.
The problem is though, with that argument is that if 98% of people have got that feeling. I don't think it is 98%, by the way. But if
I think just using the next.
No, I know. But if 98 people are not willing to be part of something, then what's the point? We're all part of Everton. We're all part of Everton. If you're not bringing solutions to the table, then then you might as well go. Right? Are we doing that on Saturday? Sound. It doesn't make you a sheep. What it does is what we're saying is I'm not saying. If I say jump off a cliff, you jump off. It's not a cult. What I'm saying is, though, at some stage, you've got to be willing to put your faith in a
But I think if you get 51% on your side, then that's enough to turn it, isn't it?
No,
but that's enough to turn it.
What I mean, but
then you've got the majority.
What I'm saying is, though, it's not about that. What I'm saying is if someone's sitting there, and this is what I said to you before, if you're sitting there and you're saying, I want the atmosphere to be better, and this group of people come along and say, we can make the atmosphere better,
pass it over to them,
then you just let people get on with it, don't you? It's not about
last year.
It's not about.
We did last year.
It's not about people speaking on my behalf.
I saw it with the bus. We were asked our opinion on the bus welcomes before the it went public, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sure Everton would be able to do that because of the negative connotations, because we've, as a fan base, have ripped Liverpool because Liverpool have done it. And yet, Everton done it. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And the club, the players responded. And then we went down to Finch Farm before they went to Leicester or wherever it was. It was brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant to see. And at Goodison, it was unbelievable. And that atmosphere carried on. So sometimes you might hear something and go, oh, I'm not convinced about that. But then in reality, once people get into it, they start going, this is sound actually. This is helping us. And that's all you're saying. What you're saying is, how can we do our bit? Ideally, you want the football club to do their bit. We really, supporters should, in my opinion, for clarity, my opinion, supporters should always play their part in the game, whether it's shouting, screaming, calling for decisions, or singing and backing your players, whether it's whistling and jeering the opposition, whatever. You should always play your part because you're going to the game, and then it's an immersive experience, isn't it? I understand not 100% of people will do that, but if a large majority of people do that and you play your part in that immersiveness, then you come out and go, you know what, I backed my team today, I give everything. I said this last year very early on. I said this team isn't going to get out of this on its own. And we have to do our bit. And luckily after that, other people jumped on it, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And the people, some tremendous people, organised themselves and organised the bus well. And then we've seen it snowball. And it'll probably be exactly the same this time. It'll need us as well. We need to get to a situation as a football club where we're playing our part, but we're playing our part just naturally as fans, and the club are playing their part by getting better players and are being organised and are doing things right. And using analytics and making the right decisions and having a plan, not just throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks, because that's what they've been doing. Certainly throughout the Farhad Moshiri era, it has to change. We're playing a team on Saturday that does things with analytics and are doing it very well. We can do the same as them. It's not this closed shop where you can't do what other teams are doing to be successful. If we do that, we've got more chance of being towards the higher end of the Premier League than we have with continually going, throw money at him. Oh, there's a striker that can't get in a Premier League team. We'll have him throw money at him. And that for me is the issue. Just going back to the point. You're right though, Paul. Everton's problems did start with Martinez. But just going back to the point though, if people have got different opinions, come and voice them. Speak to people and voice. It's not like these people aren't like a closed shop where they're not willing to take advice or ideas off other people. If people don't like what's going on at the moment, then come and voice your opinion. And maybe every society needs like a leadership structure, doesn't it? Yeah. And I'm not saying that the person who's currently the Prime Minister of the country is better than anyone else, because he's not. Clearly not. None of them are. But you have to have. There's people who are prepared to be in those structures, and there's people who are prepared not to. And I think it's important that you'll get people in the background who don't want to be front and centre, but they want to help in the background and offer the ideas. Yeah, and I think everyone's got a role to play. I just think it's important that if people do want to do things, we allow them. See, the thing for me with like the bus welcome stuff and the cop-eye behaviour, I just think that's a narrative that's been driven over the last 10, 15 years by the people who run the club, because that was the thing for us. So it was talking before about this of like, we go the game and all this. We don't win trophies, but we go the game. You've got a fan base that's all over the world. No, we just go the game, or whatever. Those narratives have been created in the last 15 years. To make us smaller, and to make that glass ceiling be where it was. Oh, we didn't win nothing, but Liverpool never won nothing either. Or they got beat by Real Madrid. Yes, let's have a party about it. It's like, no, let's have a party because Everton won something. And this is us as well, though. No, of course it's because what's happened is because that makes you feel better. But it makes you feel better because you're not winning anything. And what's happened is the club have bought into that. They do it all the time. They've done it this year with all the advertising, the Goodison gang, the Blue Smoke and all that. They've taken what fans did and used it and fed it back into them of, you should come the game because this is what we do. And it's like, But then don't bring Blue Smoke. And also, that fella that you had that represented the Blue Smoke, who had the Blue Smoke, was selling them, mate. He's going for 60 million, and then we're not going to take that money. So
don't think this. We haven't been manipulated for years and years and years to think that way. You know, the whole we go the game, the people's club, all these messages to downplay us as a football club, to say, no, that thing that you used to be, the Mersey Millionaires that went and won trophies. Nah, why do that? Why do that when you can come and do this? Because you go the game, because we've got more season ticket holders than they have, and it's like, yeah, they've got more Champions Leagues than we've got, clearly, and more Premier Leagues and all these things. And on a bad season, they win a couple of trophies. So I think it's important that if people want to do things, we let them do it, and we do create different ways, and don't just go, I'm not doing that, or singing section.
I don't think Paul was saying that.
No, I know, but
that's
what it sounded like.
The Blues and Nick asking how the bionicle hand is. It's sore, but it is getting better. It's still swollen, but it is getting better. But thank you very much. Send it home. Yeah. Where are we?
Where would you go home?
Mm-mm. The Jimmy Graham says cop-out behaviours won them the league.
Yeah, exactly.
It is, isn't it? At the end of the day, right? Really, and this is just my thing. Right? What difference does it make what other teams do? Right? So imagine if Everton went, we're going to stand on. This isn't a thing, by the way. But just we're all going to stand on Goodison Road, holding banners and spinning scarves as the coach come in. Yeah. Whatever, right? Whatever. Think of something a bit mad, right? Other fans go, use your knobheads, if Everton go on and win the game 3-0. If someone said be freezing, but if someone said on Saturday, if every male Evertonian would take the top off for the whole of the first half, Everton would be 3-0 up at half time and win the game.
I'll take it off.
we do something stupid to get them points because we're desperate. If it was, again, like I said, when I first heard the bus welcome, I was thinking, our fans are going to go, they're just not going to go for it. It's probably the best thing about last season, some of that stuff, and it created, the Palace game was a great memory of a mad situation. It's not something to be celebrated. We should never have been in that situation. But that second half, with all the scenes that followed, was a brilliant, thing that you'll remember. What a night at Goodison. Everything else around it was horrific. We should never have been in that. It was a disgrace. We were where we were, but the fans and all of the flares and everything. If you could create something like that and it helps your team, it shouldn't really matter whether someone come on and went, that's Hull City behaviour. Do you know what I mean? Who cares? Yeah. Hull might do great things. I don't know. I was just plucking a name off the sky. It doesn't matter. It's whatever wins us stuff. Whatever helps our team.
None of it matters, does it?
So,
none of it matters in terms of the way it makes you look to the outside. Who cares? There's been too much of that for years. Yeah. Too cool for school. Yeah. Got to wear certain trainings and listen to certain music because of certain fanzine told us to. No, you do what you do. If people want to wear a replica top with a hoodie underneath it, then let them do what they want. The point being is, if you get 3 points at the end of the game,
we go home happy, don't we?
And you play your part in it, singing.
That's what I'm saying about
and everyone goes, wasn't it Boss going to match? Yeah, wasn't that a brilliant experience? Wasn't it an amazing? No one likes going to the game and it being a shite atmosphere. No one likes that. But I do understand why that happens at times, because you get there and for whatever reason you might feel flat. There might be a player missing off the team sheet that you go, oh, for fuck's sake. Or you might see a team who's playing on it who suddenly peps you up or whatever it is. Whatever.
Matty Booth says, applying that logic, can no fans sing at games then because another team is the first to do so? Exactly, Matty. And Jimmy Graham says, I was going to say that, Baz, I'd sing naked. Jimmy wants the points big time there, doesn't he? Fair play to you, Jimmy. You're showing commitment there. You're saying, I'll get the little fella out as well to make sure Everton get 3 points.
Well, it's cold.
It might be a big fella. It is going to be cold on Saturday, Jim. Just remember that. Just remember, you could always put like a...
Talking of cold, we've got Brian on the line.
Hello, Brian.
Evening, lads.
All right, Brian.
Hello, Brian.
Going to change the subject completely.
Not like you, but go on.
Lower the blood pressure a little bit.
Go on.
A bit wound up and emotional as normal. But once again, I listened to the 1878 FM podcast. brilliant. As always, absolutely brilliant. I really look forward to that every week, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Do. But what I want to know is what's going on? I mean, there's Pep sitting there in his official Swedish national team's training top, right? The track he's
This was yesterday, yeah.
Then
Cool.
Dave,
Yeah.
he starts. Well, by the way, people who don't know, I'm calling from Sweden.
Yeah.
And then this Dave, he brings up the IKEA bag, and they are massive.
They are.
really
IKEA bags are big, you're correct.
And then Baz goes all aber on us.
Yeah.
It was a full Swedish...
My God.
It was
Can
a
you
Swedish
imagine,
episode,
man?
Brian.
Subliminal, wasn't it?
Subliminal Swedish episode. We could have had the Starker behind us, but we didn't. But it was a subliminal Swedish episode, so, you know...
I think we should have been warned.
Well, we could have... We just left out Alexanderson, Linderoth. You know, we could have brought them into play. Robin Olsen. Could have brought the scarf over, so...
Changed the shirt. You took away Limpar's shirt.
Anders. He was...
Well, Limpar was behind me.
Limpar was behind her as well, so there's the Swedish foot. So there you go. It was all Swedish, Bri.
It was.
To us.
It was all good.
It was good.
Well, if you're going to have any more of these theme days, warn us.
Okay.
No, see, warning people it gives
That'd be like
you've got to like it's about understanding the pattern of the show and putting it all together. It's a bit like a murder mystery, very much like a murder mystery.
Very much like
Yeah,
it.
it's all hopscotch.
Yeah,
It
without
falls
the
together
murder.
all by itself.
Exactly. Agatha would have been proud of us.
Absolutely. Is there any other with pearls of wisdom, Brian?
Right.
Oh, no, loads, but
on,
not
don't
many
go on,
good.
then.
Oh, okay.
As by like the Tuesday topic you did, which was rather hurried last week. I think you did very well to ignore all of those suggestions, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
it wasn't
right,
that hard to ignore all the
It's
suggestions.
not a case of ignoring them. We just take them on board and we go, they were rubbish. Let's move on. No.
Well,
It's
I watched it again, and I hope you had a laugh at it because it's really quite funny. I think.
No, we
And
mean,
some of them are good.
Funny, stupid.
No, we do what we do with everything, and just
we have a look and then we
have a
just
look
get
and
into
make
it and
it
see
our
where
own,
it
so.
goes. See where it goes.
There you go.
Well,
But
I'm looking forward.
Go on.
I'm looking forward to this starting 11 show because I think personally I'd go with 3 centre halves, but I don't think anyone else would.
Well, you'll have to just wait and see what
That's my
Ned.
tactical master.
Yeah, Ned is the gatekeeper of the starting 11
You
show
might
now.
take him off it this week.
Yeah.
He's had a
So
nightmare
that's
lately.
my tactical masterstroke.
Okay.
He's had a
Three
nightmare
centre-halves
lately.
with,
Which 3 centre backs would you go for?
Mina,
Yeah.
absolutely Mina. Now, what I'm going to annoy a lot of people. I go for Holgate because he plays very well beside Mina when Ancelotti was there. And then the other one's a bit awkward, but I'd probably go for Tarkowski, even though he's not been particularly brilliant lately.
Yeah, I think I'd go for Tarkowski. And who would come out the side then to facilitate that other centre back?
Godfrey.
Well, okay, so you'd have Dwight McNeil at left wing back.
Exactly.
Okay. Fair play.
Because
Fair play, yeah.
they're a team with they're no skillful, but they're tough and they're pacey. And although that might sound a little silly saying Godfrey, I don't think Godfrey's intelligent enough to play against him, to be honest with you. His football intelligence is rather low. And I think the key, Mina and Tarks will keep O'Neill in check as long as you've got Garner there sweeping up and covering.
Interesting.
Yeah, fair play. We'll I'm sure Ned's listening, and I'm sure he'll probably just rob all your ideas because all he does is just rob all our ideas. So no, you haven't, Ned. You've got no ideas. I don't even think it's you playing the guitar, Ned. Half the time, I think you're just miming. I think you just put a
Ned's gone full weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. Full Ned. I don't trust Ned. 1 minute. Shut up, Ned.
I feel already that your blood pressure is sinking. From what it was 20 minutes ago.
Mine is.
Oh yeah, I'm calm.
Mine hasn't moved, Bri. Mine's cool. Mine's cool as anything.
Oh no, you're still in all ABBA mode, you are.
Yeah, I am, mate. I'm looking at winner takes all Saturday. That's what I'm looking for.
Hey!
You know, there you
We've
go.
got to whistle Mamma Mia on the way home.
Do we? I'll be singing it all the way home tonight. Actually, I won't because you'll drop me off, so I don't know what music you've got on.
I'm going to put something on that you hate.
Okay, thanks. That's nice.
I'm currently at 74 BPM.
Which is
the highest mine's been today. Oh no, I've been at 137 today. I wonder when that was.
Mine's at 60. 66 I'm at the moment. So I'm like,
yours
nice
would never get to 137 because you don't do enough activity. It's not though at all. It's not 137. It's not bad at
out
all.
Walking a dog or exercising.
Could be running up the stairs.
A resting heart rate of 137.
No,
Yeah,
your resting heart rate at the moment 74.
There you go, man. 66.
It's what grown men have, Ned, and one day you'll find that out when you have a grown man. Right, Brian, thanks for the call, mate.
Soon, so thank you for calling in from Sweden. Look out for other Swedish-related stuff. We might be meatballs on next week. You just never know.
Just let the boys know that their input to that show is outstanding.
Oh,
it's
thanks,
really,
mate.
Something to really look forward to every week.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Lots
Brian.
do because of Dave and Andy, so we will pass it on, Brian. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Brian.
Take care, Brian. Look after yourself. Ta-ra, mate. Bye.
If Sweden's got like like national podcast or radio awards, I think that episode should be put forward into it with the
with this fair play. No. Why wouldn't it?
No.
Why wouldn't it?
There you
go. Let's have a little refresh on Premier for the last little couple of minutes. Benjamin says, "Go ahead, lad." It's holding to you, Ped. You can be his proxy. There you go. Chris says Ned secretly messages me to play guitar for him and he just mimes over it.
Chris. No, the thing is, Chris, I know that's not factually true because I've seen how good a guitarist you are. I mean, if one of you two is better than Ed Sheeran, it's you, Chris. No, it's not. You're world class. Ned on the other half.
Ned is
St.
good.
Alan's class.
Ned is good.
Yeah.
But Chris was very good as well.
Alan's class. Da-da.
Yeah. The right then. Oh, it's gone.
What are you saying?
Basic Tricks having a Bannon scrap with someone who just keeps making different accounts. So fair play to him.
He's right.
Well, it is right. Basic Tricks just mopping it up, mate.
Moderating
top it up. Love it. Love all that.
Top mod.
Love all that. Have we got any here? Nick says Freddie Lundberg popped in for a cuppa. That'd been good chat. That would have been a good chat. The Blues says, I look back at that Palace game like somebody saved my life. I thought I was done and then someone came along and saved me. Bad moments that I wish I was never in, but thank God I was saved. Yeah, absolutely, you can. What I mean is that when you think back to like the celebrations, it should have been for something like winning a league, shouldn't it? The kind of things we seen or whatever. But we needed it because it was... but I just don't know whether it... Have everybody got that energy again this season? I just don't know. And that's the different one, isn't it? That's the difficult one. I don't know. People keep talking about MSP, but I haven't seen any kind of update so far today, or this week. JS said red or white wine, lads.
None.
Neither. We both don't really drink alcohol anymore.
I don't drink wine.
If I ever had a wine, it used to be a little glass of red, a little one, but
tastes like vinegar.
No, but some of them are nice, but it would only be one. I just don't drink. No. So it's just one of them, isn't it? Mark says, I'm sure it's been mentioned, but how is Ivan Toney still allowed to play? It mustn't be, for some reason, Mark, it mustn't be breaking the Premier League rules. But then once it's all done, he will be banned from playing in the Premier League. That's the bit I can't get my head around. And he's admitted it. If he wouldn't have admitted any charges, then you'd say, well, he's got to be proven guilty first. But he's admitted charges. So it is a bit weird. Right, we're going. So hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for joining us. And we will see our Premier members tomorrow. Take it easy. Bye.